some Late Night Champion Mindset Coaching, and tonight we're going to be talking on storms that you hit on or are sucked into as you're moving through transitions. And the big one that we're going to bring onto the table tonight is actually about finance. Okay, I know nobody likes to talk about this one. This one tends to be as big a pain point for single people as it does to married couples. So let's just get this, let's look at the beast, okay? You'll never make it better if you don't look at it. All right, so this is what I'm getting, is that it seems to me that a lot of people, especially those people who live in Illinois, right now are sensing the fallout of the middle class, and that chasm between what was formerly like the upper class and the lower class seems to be getting wider and wider, and the middle class is basically like, it's disappearing, and people are feeling the effects of that, and at the same time are having a lot of issues in the workplace where they don't like what they do anymore. They want to make a shift, but this whole financial thing has them feeling overwhelmed, and they're still kind of like living beyond their means, and they're using credit cards, and there's this whole financial mayhem which is happening, and it's having spill out and fallout at home and also at work, relationships, and it never lends itself to a positive outcome when you stay in that muck and the mire. And I'm going to tell you from personal experience, finance, it can be a very scary creature to look at if you have either not prioritized it, or if you have not had the right financial information, or if you've been more of a spender than a strategic planner and an investor. And I get all of that. I've been through those things. Here's what I'm going to tell you. You have to first and foremost, I have what's called a goals program, okay? So when I speak, a lot of things come to focus on your goals, and then, make every decision as though you are the person who has achieved that goal or attained that, you've become that person already. But how do you do that when you are in survival mode and you're just trying to keep your head above water? Well, here's your analogy. If you're in the ocean and all of a sudden you get carried into the undertow, and let's say that you started, up here, and now, the water is taking you down the shore this way, your reaction is always to start swimming against it. And it's the ocean, right? You're like a speck in it, and you never even make any headway because the waves, the water is so strong, you will actually fatigue out if you continue to try to paddle and swim against it. So what do? Well, you let it continue to drag you down this way, but you swim across it, and that's how you actually get to the shore. And then you get yourself a margarita when you get back on shore, and you walk yourself back to your point of origin, right? Okay, I'll be careful next time. But what I'm saying is that when you get caught up in that sort of a storm, or you get caught up in the tide like that, you have to do something different. More times than not, when you experience I'm getting sucked into this thing, your reaction is always just that. It's a reaction, it's a reflex. But when you're in those times of chaos and volatility, and in some cases even danger, you have to learn how to respond to a situation rather than react to it. Because when you react to it, just like when you're in the ocean, you're going to fatigue out and you're going to die, right? You're just going to get sucked under. That's going to be the end of you. But when it comes to your life, that financial aspect of it, is that you have to learn how to respond rather than react to it. And what I feel happens, and what I found working with people happens, is that that you are entering that undercurrent, that tide that's getting ready to carry you away, and it's just that overwhelming fear of I don't even want to look at this, or every time my husband and I or my wife and I talk about money, all we ever do is argue. And I know that that's a very real pain point. Now, I'm not a financial planner, I'm not a tax person, I'm not a lawyer, that's not my role in any of this. What I've done in coaching individuals in what I call the goals program is the goals program is, picture like 6 areas of your life. Okay, you've got relationships, you've got relationships with yourself and with other people, the relationship you have with money, relationship you have with God, you've got like your overall health and fitness, you've got, your purpose on the planet. So you've got all these things, and most people have goals within all of those sectors, but either during different times of life, some goals are more important, like they're higher on the priority scale than others. But I will tell you, for every single person that I have ever coached, financial goals have been there, but they have been actually the most feared sector of any other part of that pie that we coach on. But I will tell you this, what you resist will persist. And so part of what we've done is I've made triage tools. And if you don't know what triage tools is, triage comes from emergency world, where we make very rapid and very unemotional decisions, based on, a couple questions or a couple observations that we make in order to get people the treatment that they need in proportion to how sick they are. Okay, so triaging is actually just, a rapid fire process. Well, I've done that for finances. I have a financial triage tool. I've got something for health and fitness, which is called an energy triage tool. And we can actually put this together and put it in line with you and your spouse, if that's the situation that exists, in order for you guys to get rapid fire clarity on where you are financially. And it's unemotional. There's no crying that happens. It just gets everything boom, 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 fast onto the table, within usually 6 weeks, or 5. Sometimes we have a rock solid budget, established up for each of the 4 quarters of the year, and how to actually communicate then with the appropriate professionals, for investments or financial planning, can happen because the meat and potatoes is actually there. But I have an energy triage tool that actually empowers you with when's the best time of day to even have these discussions? Because most people will talk about money either at the end of the day, after everybody's nerves are frazzled, after no one's been eating well and they're hypoglycemic and they feel like shit, and now all of a sudden they're having this money discussion, which ends up becoming a money argument, which lasts then for another 2 weeks, and then we don't talk about money for another 2 weeks, then it's a whole other month, and then oh my gosh, now it's kids are going back to school, I gotta spend more money, and you get into this cycle of harriedness and worriedness and nothing. You never make any headway. Meanwhile, you still see I'm worried about what's going to happen to us next year. Does that make sense? And so when you're entering any sort of a storm, okay, somebody has to be the leader, okay, and be able to come forth with clarity and with peace, and know that when you're having financial discussion with yourself or with your partner, whomever, we have to come together and have some sort of a plan for our household. Okay, and household can be single person, it could be household, multiple people living in the household. What is that plan for our household? And then how do we acquire the skills of communication, where we can bring together our differences and actually make our team stronger and deeper and richer, so that we're able to hit those targets and not have this continual predictable death of the relationship, just if you were getting sucked along in the undertow of the financial ocean, if you will. So it's not, are you going to have a storm? It's when the storm happens, not if. And in order to get something that you've never had before, you're going to have to do something which you've never done before. Okay? Now, I don't know what that is for you. Okay, so I'm not saying, just go willy-nilly about this. My systems and my processes, which I have, they're they're systematic, they're very process-oriented, they're reproducible in terms of results, and people have been able to achieve more peace on the financial front and also on the home front, because we handle this stuff in a very quick and efficient fashion, and it really takes a lot of that strain off, especially when you are then entering a transition point on, do we move to a different state? Am I ready to switch careers? We've got planning to do with the kids, etc., etc. So if that's something that would actually be helpful to you, by all means, if you're watching this on Facebook, you can message me directly. If you've got my email, go ahead, you can email me there, call, text. This is what I do, and I'm here to assist you get to whatever your goals are. But again, in order for you to get what you've never had, you're going to have to do something that you've never done. All right? So let's work together. Let's get this done. This is what, July? Yeah, so we're in the third quarter of the year. We're going to be heading into the fourth quarter of the year. I mean, it's in like a blink, right? So let's finish strong. All right? Let's get it.